Hello wonderful people. Paper testing can be wild. I've had papers that work and some that won't work at all and some that would do when I adjusted my techniques. And while I'm often aware of adjustments I do, they might not show in the videos or finished pieces. This bothered me a bit. As someone who comes from a background in science, I want the results to be reliable and comprehensible too. In the end, the goal to watch reviews is to make up your mind whether to do a purchase or not, right? At least it is for me. To see what quality supplies are out there in general, or maybe which ones not to invest in. These qualities differ from person to person, and I'm totally aware that what I like doesn't work for you, and vice versa. But I also figured that having categories that are provable with ratings and personal info could help to estimate at least if it's something you like. So I came up with criteria for my future paper tests. So to test the papers, I wanted to not only swatch it, as it gives me far too little information on how the paper actually handles painting. That's why I actually wanted to paint several paintings to test properly and get a feeling for the paper, as well as look into my habits to see whether I change my approach or techniques. That's why I chose to paint 4 small paintings on each paper. To test them further, I considered it's a good idea to use different palettes, which I'm very well accustomed to. The Schminke Horadam watercolors, Core and Lucas 1862 aquarelle. They all have different properties, and knowing them I can see how the paints behave on papers and whether there are differences, struggles, or just joy. Another consideration is to test the back of the paper. As I and many of my friends are making sketchbooks themselves, it's good to see whether the front and back will behave the same. Sometimes there are differences in texture or sizing even, and how the back side handles water and paint in general. So it would be good to know for future use. This I will do also with the Schminke Horadam watercolors for better comparison to the front of the paper. And while I paint, I can test the usual techniques and see whether they work the same or different on the paper from what I'm used to. Painting full simple pieces allows me to do the testing in a more relaxed setting and enjoy the process too. The criteria I'm paying most attention to are the feel of the paper. Is it rough or rather smooth to touch? Some papers feel so coarse to me that I don't enjoy their feeling in touching them with my hands or the brush. I feel like they hold the brush and won't let it glide smoothly. Some feel to me like painting on sanding paper, and honestly, it's something I personally avoid. Arches is an example where I feel that, and that's why I'm very open about why it's not a paper for me. While it of course behaves well otherwise, this feeling is what makes it odd for me. So I choose papers that do not trigger that feeling. I try to observe how the paper handles water. Will it buckle, and in what way? Will it form pillows or hills or waves that go through the sheet? This will lead to puddling and movement of water in ways which might not be appreciated. Will it be easy to cause blooms, or will they happen on their own? Blooms can be enhanced through certain techniques or uneven water distribution on paper. Usually I am able to avoid them and use it on purpose. New papers might handle water different though, and gives me information about its characters, when I can see blooms happening when painting wet on wet. Same technique also shows me how the paper might influence paint flow. We know that it's again influenced by so many things, like the pigment and binder solution of the paints. Stuff like Aquazol or Oxgall made the paints flow better. But by using the same palettes and paints each time, I can actually compare how the paper plays into it and what harmony is created. Even more information is gathered by observation how granulation shows. It's mostly affected by the texture of paper, but it really says a lot. And it's just good to know in case I want to choose a paper that will enhance the look of granulation or hide it. Same goes for lifting of the colors. Although they are staining and non-staining pigments, sizing influences this behavior, so it's possible to lift staining pigments off of paper with decent sizing, at least somewhat, while bad sizing made paint stick to the paper more. Lifting is a crucial technique to soften edges, lighten areas, and simply correct errors. By testing this, we know what we can do with this paper and how easy it will be working towards the desired look of our painting. Another factor I pay attention to is the color of the paper. The varieties are small, but even these can influence the look of the chosen colors. Some papers make colors almost glow, especially the bright transparent colors, which I have in the palettes and I use for testing. The color of paper can vary between cool white, almost bluish, neutral or warm white, which has a creamy beige color. I personally prefer a neutral to warm colored paper, but there are projects that call for a cool white too. To write them down is helpful to know which paper can offer me what look and make my choices simpler in the future. In the end, the goal for me is to be able to pick the perfect paper for my needs, and by making these reviews public, for you too. Everyone who paints makes choices on how they want their paintings to look. And it's good to be able to estimate the results by seeing how the papers perform. Last points on my list of criteria to look for are painful ones when it happens. It's the surface damage that can be caused by various utensils and techniques. Erasing is one of them. Drawing and erasing can damage the paper, as we all know. It shows in uneven washes and splotches when these are not wanted. So one of my tests is literally heavily erasing a corner of the painting before I paint it. To do so, I use the soft white eraser and not the recommended kneaded eraser, which is easy on the surface. Another weak point of papers is masking tape and fluid. While cotton papers with good sizing are usually not affected by both, papers with weaker sizing, and often cellulose papers, struggle to keep the surface safe. We see it in ripped papers, and sometimes it can destroy the painting you just finished. So it's good to know on which papers to avoid both and choose other techniques to preserve or add white in the painting without using masking tape or fluid. With all of these criteria, I hope to create comparable tests and a basis for me and others to choose papers. To make it comparable, I'll give the paper star ratings for each section, ranging 1 to 5 stars, with additional notes on how the paper actually behaved to justify the rating. That way, I try to create transparency in both the techniques as well as the results and how I judge them. If you feel like something is missing or I can improve the process, let me know in the comments. And while I'm aware that fully objective rating is impossible, I think that transparency about my approaches and full notes will give you enough information to be able to judge for yourself and then choose papers that will fit you. Or note that certain papers are not for you. As simple as that. In the end, preferences are different as well as needs. Certain projects have different needs, and you and I might switch from the paper we love so much to a different one that can handle a task better. Or we find new favorites along the way. For me personally, I like to have a place to look up how I like a certain paper years after painting it. When years have passed, I might not be able to recall fully how it behaved. But being asked a lot from people worldwide, it's nice to be able to recommend something from their region. Regional products are often cheaper, and price plays a big role when it comes to a product that gets used up so much as paper does. These were my considerations, and I hope you will find them useful. Of course, all the results will be posted as early access on Patreon and on the blog parallel to the video. Links are down in the description box. I also hope you enjoyed the painting process from this video. It's one of the test paintings I did for the Hanemühle, the collection watercolor paper of 300 GSM. I have also streamed this one, and you can find the link to my Twitch stream down below. The full review is in the last video of this channel. Have a wonderful and creative day, everyone, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!